Disney's newest live-action Little Mermaid film is nothing more than empty capitalism by Disney, an empty attempt to get more money off of a property. Instead of innovating and making new things, they wanted to switch it up a bit by making her Black this time. As a corporation thriving under capitalism, there's no doubt that Disney is indeed exploitative in many of its practices. And I'm sure if we looked beneath all of the glamorous CGI, we would find many examples of that. But all of that being said, I really liked the Little Mermaid movie. So as I mentioned in a previous video, I was pretty excited to see Disney's new remake of Little Mermaid. It was one of my favorite Disney movies as a child, and I went to go see it, and I walked out with a really surprising conclusion that I'm gonna get to. But I figured that after having so many videos recently where we've talked about pretty intense things, I would come to you guys and just talk to you guys about something that I enjoyed. Give a little bit of criticism, give a little bit of commentary, share a little bit of my thoughts about some of the most popular criticisms that came out before the film even went live. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of articles about how it is the most popular film in the world. Apparently it's doing really well, maybe not as good as other things. I know that there's like a new Guardians of the Galaxy movie that's out apparently. I have no interest in seeing that, but I'm sure it's good and I trust that the nerds will tell me if it is. But I am a little bit of a nerd about mermaids, and that's why I was really excited to see this film. So I'm going to start out by giving you guys the things that I really liked about the movie and the things that I didn't like about the movie. So first and foremost, who do I think should go watch this movie? I think if you're a person who really likes The Little Mermaid, you're going to really like this movie. I also think if you're a person who enjoys very like period piece, love stories vibes, I think you're gonna like this one too. It definitely gave me Pride and Prejudice vibes, and the girls who know. There's something about that specific genre that is so magical, and this definitely had notes of that, I'll say. Additionally, I think my biggest hot take about the film is story-wise, I actually think it's a lot better than the original. I know. That's something that I don't think we would ever say about a Disney live action remake, but I'm gonna tell you guys why I feel that way. So in the original animated movie, you understand that Ariel likes Erik and wants to marry him or whatever, but you don't really understand why they're drawn to each other beyond, hey, he's really hot, and hey, she's really cute. She like saved me from drowning or whatever. But I found Erik and Ariel in the live action version of this film to be so much more well thought out. They give Erik a song that essentially explains that in many ways he's similar to Ariel. Ariel has a song, Part of Your World, which is all about longing for something on the other side, and she's very clearly drawn to the surface world. In this film, Prince Erik is adopted, and he's a little boy who was lost at sea and adopted by the queen on the island. I think because of that backstory, it's insinuated that he has a fascination with the ocean, and he actually has a song that I don't remember the name of that is talking a lot about that. It's basically his version of Part of Your World, and it's about him longing for adventure on the sea. And I thought that was cute, honestly, because it gives the boys in the audience a character that they can admire in terms of this character that wants to go on adventures and things. And similar to Ariel, Prince Erik is always running away, going off to sea without permission, and being chided by his mother. So you have these two characters that are actually very similar in their personality, who meet each other and become infatuated with each other, perhaps because of what they represent to each other. Now, obviously, when he meets Ariel, Prince Erik doesn't actually know that she's a mermaid until much, much later, but he, throughout the entire film, is fascinated with this woman who saved his life from the sea. And once he finds out that she's a mermaid, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. This film too, they have a little bit more world building around the relationship between the human world and the mermaids. I didn't watch any of the sequels to The Little Mermaid, so I don't know if this is lore from those films. I'm gonna assume that it probably is. But in the film, they tell a story about how Ariel's mother was killed by humans, and that is behind a lot of King Triton's resentment for the human world. And when you understand that, you understand why he doesn't want her up there mixing with those types of people. Not in my neighborhood vibes. And I feel like I remember that from the original movie, but I don't remember it being as fleshed out. In this movie, Ursula is also Ariel's aunt, and I feel like that was also insinuated in the original movie, but it's very clearly expressed here. Ursula is just trying to mess with Ariel to get to Triton because she resents the punishment that Triton gave her. And I feel like I gotta know a little bit more about the story, but I feel like, hot take, I feel like Ursula's right. Obviously she's evil and obviously we're not supposed to like her, but I feel like if we were to hear this full story, none of us would like Triton. Once she drops those receipts, it's over for him. I just know it. I just know it. Also, if you watched the previous video where I talked about The Little Mermaid, you know that I was pretty excited for the sisters. I was really excited to see their roles in the film because I thought that they were really interesting, dynamic, cutesy characters with really unique designs. And I liked their designs a lot more than I liked Ariel's. So I was really excited to see them in the movie. But that kind of leads me to my list of complaints about this film. You really don't see those sisters much at all. You really don't. You see them a little bit here, a little bit there. They do have a bunch of speaking moments. I think every sister has a couple of lines, and the mermaids that came out in that 3-pack, those dolls, the 3-pack, they're the mermaids that have the most lines. It's Mala and I believe Karina. They have the most speaking lines, but they're basically not even in, they could have just not even had them and we would have not noticed. For me, the mermaids were very clearly, very obviously a ploy to sell dolls, but I'm not that mad about it. I'm really not that mad about it. I think that diversifying them makes sense because now every girl's got one that looks like her. And I get why they did it. And I'm just annoyed that we didn't see more of them. And that kind of brings me to my largest, and I'm going to be real with you, my biggest beef with this film. In the live action movie, you see this beautiful underwater kingdom and it's iconic. And I was really excited to see how they were going to translate that into this live action remake. And it's not in there at all. There is absolutely no depiction of Atlantis. Now, I understand why they cut that. It probably wasn't the most important thing in the world, but at the same time, what I would have done, I don't know when, I don't know how, but if you don't show me Atlantis right now, I'm gonna sue Disney or Pooh, give me money. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm mad about that. Like, I'm honestly mad about it because all I needed to see was Atlantis. I just needed a couple of shots of the mermaids like swimming through the water near it. It could have just been a quick little shot, but I know they didn't do it because budget, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. Why couldn't they just spend a little bit more time doing CGI? And that's another complaint that I have about this movie. It is entirely CGI. And of course, I understand why. They very clearly spent the most money on Ariel, and rightfully so. I've seen a lot of behind the scenes footage from the movie, and I completely understand why they did things the way that they did. Part of what I don't like about some of these live action remakes is when you look back at the animated movies, which, side note, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I went to school for animation. I went to CalArts for character animation. I don't talk about that enough, but yeah, I used to be an animator. There was a lot of care and love and time put into these films. These films took years and years to complete. And so when you finally saw them in their final form, there was just so much to it. There's so much depth to it, right? But these live action remakes, because I think they're done so quickly, do not have the same depth. Now, obviously, these live action remakes have the benefit of being able to work from pre-existing material or whatever, but still, I missed the magic of that, the magic of something that took a bit more time to complete, something that obviously was focused on a bit more than what was actually focused on. So I will say that was probably one of my biggest frustrations. Here's another beef that I have. AQUAFINA, okay? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about AQUAFINA. Now, if she was going to play a role in a Disney movie, I guess Scuttle would be the good role for her because she's annoying. So I feel like in that way, it was actually well casted. But I'm gonna double up on this criticism because I got more than one criticism that's related to AQUAFINA, but not really. I almost feel like maybe I'm throwing AQUAFINA under the bus. My real beef is with LIN-MANUEL Miranda. Why? Now, look, I know a lot of people really like what he does. I've never seen Hamilton. I was gonna go see Hamilton, but then the pandemic happened. I'm sure it's an amazing film or whatever, but frankly, I have too many friends who are really into it and they play it quite frequently. And I've been at parties where people start singing it. And I feel like it's the same song over and over again. And I can always tell that LIN-MANUEL Miranda has done something because it sounds like a Hamilton song. Everything sounds like a Hamilton song. And the thing about it is, I feel like he's like that kid in drama class, that kid in theater class. Oh, by the way, I'm also a thespian. I was in thespians. I was in advanced drama as a teenager. I know what I'm talking about or whatever. Don't trust me. I really don't know what I'm talking about. But like, he reminds me of that kid in theater class who is good, right? Like, he's good. He's very good and everyone knows it. We all see it, sir. We get it. We get it. You're talented. And we're not like bitter about it. It's just that kid who takes every moment to make it his thing. And in a way, I'm happy for him. He's got a solid gig working at Disney. And I didn't hate a lot of the lyrics and things that he added in or whatever. But I feel like I, as a millennial, have experienced enough LIN-MANUEL Miranda. And I'm over it. But anyway, that Scuttlebutt song, we really could have done without it. I wanted to like it. And there was a part of me that sort of did, but it was so unnecessary. And the fact that it sits in my head for so long, I don't think is a positive thing. Now, speaking of LIN-MANUEL Miranda, there's a couple of people who have criticized some of the edits of the lyrics. There were a couple of different edits that were made. Specifically, the one that comes to mind is the body language line in Poor Unfortunate Souls. And if I'm being real with y'all, I didn't miss it. I didn't really miss it. I really didn't miss it. And just in general, I actually thought that people did a pretty good job with all the songs. I actually listened to the soundtrack before seeing the movie, and I thought that like it's a pretty good soundtrack, right? And I think it stays very faithful to the original, more so than I think other live action Disney films have done. And I liked it. Ursula. You know what? Let me throughout the entire movie, all I wanted to do was just, come here, just blend that out a bit, just blend it out. Because her makeup, now look, I know that Disney choosing to work with a drag queen would have been too much. I get it. And I think in many ways, Melissa McCarthy, I think that's her name, she played her role really well in a lot of ways. But the makeup though, it was so distracting to me. Like I really just wanted to like, just blend it out. Like baby, because I feel like they wanted to do over dramatic cis woman, which I think worked. I think it worked, right? But can I use this MAC 2245 to just help you out a bit? Just a little bit. And it was just like, I don't understand why they went with that. Apparently the person who does the makeup is a queer person. I'll take your word for it. I just wanted it to be a bit more blended. Okay? But I do think that she did decently. So that's that. Other than that, I don't think I really have anything else to bitch and moan about. So let's get to some of the criticisms that were made of this film before the film and how I felt actually watching the movie. Let's start right away with the casting of Halle Bailey. I am not saying this because I'm Black and because I like seeing Black girls and things, but in our consciousness right now, artists who are making things right now, people who are in our current celebrity atmosphere, I feel like Halle Bailey was the best choice. Frankly, I really do. She's always, for me, given me very siren, very ethereal, otherworldly vibes. And the way that she plays this character, it's slightly different than Ariel in the original film, but it is definitely her. Like, she is Ariel. She has the innocence that Ariel has. She has the curiosity, the naivete, the stubbornness that feels like it comes from a teenager, right? She plays it really well. And she's got the voice. She's got the voice. And that's the thing that gets me too. There are a lot of people who are really upset that she wasn't a white girl, that she didn't look a certain way. In fact, the actress who played Vanessa, there are a lot of people saying that she should have also played Ariel. But the thing about it is the actress who played Vanessa was actually perfect for Vanessa. Perfect for Vanessa. And I feel like Halle Bailey was perfect for Ariel. I think they were both very well casted. And I'm not saying that because she's a black girl and I like seeing black girls and things. I'm saying this because I think that she was really the best for the job. Now, I'm open to hearing other people's opinions. Not that it matters. It is what it is. The film has already been made. But I feel like in terms of people who could have played this role, who are well-known singers right now, who have a positive image, right? Important for Disney. I really think she did a good job. So I know that a lot of people were upset with Ariel not having bright red hair. And I'm gonna be real with y'all. If she had bright red hair in this movie, it would have looked crazy. After looking at everything, after seeing everything, I understand why they went with that hair color. I also really wanted her to have red hair. I wanted her to have, we didn't have to make it a whole fire engine red type situation. We could do a bit of 350 and put a little bit of fire engine red in there. I wanted it to be like a little bit more red, and it's more of a 350 with 30, maybe some 35 in there. And I think it looked good. I think it looked good, right? And I understand why people wanted it to be more red, but just it would have looked so strange. Because in the animated movie, you can buy that this woman with very bright red hair is just coexisting as a normal human in this human world. But in a live action movie, her hair being bright red as she walks through the town, like she's already getting stared at because she's weird, right? It would have just been very off, I think. And I understand why people wanted that, but I don't think it would have worked. Obviously, we're talking about a film about a mermaid and people can look at however they want, but I feel like they really wanted it to be a live action movie. And so I think that they wanted to think a bit more realistically. And I think color-wise, it worked just fine. Other than that, like I said, for me personally, I actually thought that it was story-wise better than the original. The thing about it though, is the original has so many iconic things to it still that I think it's almost like these are two different films. It's the same film, but it's almost like two different films. And think about Little Mermaid. If you know the story and you are a fan of Little Mermaid things, you know that there's already so many different Little Mermaid movies. I follow this Instagram that is just various different Little Mermaid clips from different Little Mermaid films. There are so many that exist. In all reality, if you really, 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 really want to see a white girl as Ariel, you can find it. They exist. I understand why people don't like brown washing or whatever, but this was one of the situations where I think it probably made the most sense. And I had a thought about this because this isn't the only project where they're switching out a white lead for a not fully white lead. And I feel like Disney's doing this thing where they're probably diversifying the live action version of these movies, if only to reach more people. That's the read that I have of it, honestly. I get the impression that just by making Snow White also Latina, I think that probably reaches a whole new group of people. And I really think that what some people are struggling with is this idea that there are larger markets to pander to. Yes, of course, like I said, Disney is a corporation that cares about money more than anything, right? It is definitely capitalist, and they definitely are just trying to make money. And it just so happens that one of the ways to make money right now is to make things a bit more diverse. I do find it funny that there were so many people cheering on the idea of this film not doing well before it actually turned out to do quite well. The whole go woke or go broke thing is very funny to me to observe, because it just points at the thing that I'm talking about, right? There are some people who are frustrated with the very idea that there's media being created that is not explicitly centering white people. And that's a very bizarre feeling for me to interact with as a person who grew up watching Little Mermaid and had to learn to identify with the Little Mermaid despite being white. Like, I'm so used to looking at white characters and trying to identify with them that it's always really funny to me when a big company does something and they decide to change the race of a character and people lose their shit. And it's so funny thinking about this too, because there's actually so many examples of characters that are POC just being white in the live action version of it. Now that Disney owns Marvel, there are so many examples within Marvel of that. And there's so much erasure that happens within that. And of course, people want to do the whole, well, if it's bad to do that, then it's got to be bad to do this. But no, white supremacy has made it so that the vast majority of characters are white, and the vast majority of roles for actors are white. And the idea that Halle Bailey couldn't play Ariel because she's not a white girl is so silly to me. And no, that's not the same as a white girl playing Tiana, because that's not the same conversation at all. That's the thing that's so funny to me. Like, when we have these conversations, people always do this thing where they're like, what about insert real world character or thing based on real world character or situation that is informed by racism? If we made that person white, you wouldn't like it, right? No, Tiana being black is part of her character. I don't think Ariel being white is even close to being part of her character. Y'all are gonna explain to me how, truthfully. Here's the harsh reality of it, y'all. With whiteness comes this sort of attitude that this is the default character. And part of whiteness, frankly, is erasing your connection to your European ancestry. So many European immigrants came to America, then disconnected from their roots in order to be white, right? And white was this sort of amalgamation of different European groups into this one sort of way of being. And with that comes characters that don't necessarily need to be white. Tiana is not a character like that because, first of all, she's based on a real person. She's based on Leah Chase, who, if you ever go to New Orleans, has a really great restaurant called Dookie Chase. Such a good restaurant. It was one of the first desegregated restaurants in New Orleans, and it's basically based on her, a real person. So it's not really the same thing. So anyone who tries to make that argument is just making a really silly argument. Especially because if you really know a lot about The Little Mermaid, you know that it's actually gay as fuck, honestly. It's gay. It's gay. Happy Pride Month. It's very gay. That's another video for another time. Anyway, in summation, I really enjoyed The Little Mermaid for what it was. It's not shifting the needle. It's not changing the world, but I definitely think that its representation is very powerful. I think that Halle Bailey did a really great job of it, and I really enjoyed the live action more than I probably did enjoy the story of the original. And that's something that I didn't think I would ever say. It is in many ways a shot-for-shot remake, but they add so much to it that in my opinion, it just makes it a better story. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about the film if you've seen it. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. I kind of want to go see it again. Should we go see it again? I'm into that idea. I went alone. I couldn't get my boyfriend to come with me. He was like, oh. So I went alone to the Chinese theater and I saw it and I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, on that note, if you ever wonder what I'm up to, what's going on in behind the scenes, what I'm working on, what I'm creating, you can always check me out on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/katblaque. That is probably the best way to interact with me. And I upload a bunch of vlogs where I share all about my process, my personal life, different little things that are going on in my life that I don't feel comfortable talking about on here. If you like what I'm doing over here and want to support it, you can go to patreon.com/katblaque. That is katblaque spelled KATBLAQUE, all one word, and you can find out how to join my Patreon family. Anyway, on that note, I'll talk to you guys later, and I want you to always remember and never forget that you are beautiful and you are loved. Bye!